Super Play Action Football tried something a little different. Using an isometric view with a radar covering the left portion of the screen was certainly a choice. Now, I'm not here to discuss the pros and cons of this or anything like that. What I will say, though, is that it makes passing kinda difficult for me. So that's when it hit me. What if I just didn't? Could I make it an entire season without a single pass? But why stop there? What if the only play I could call was the option? No dives, no ISOs, no field goals, no punts, just option. How would that go? Let's find out. Also, real quick before someone picks me apart in the comments, I understand that this play is technically a toss sweep, but you actually have to hit a button to toss, so you can just keep it with the quarterback. And you know what? That's close enough to the option for me. I opted to use Tennessee for this season purely out of nostalgia. I don't know how the game allocates stats to teams or even if it does at all, so I just kind of clicked through the initial season setup to get to the game quicker. Our first game of the season was against Moldy Moss. Probably worth mentioning that while this game does have an NFL license, it wasn't endorsed by the NCAA, so instead of actual teams, we get legally distinct approximations. Moldy Moss pretty easily marched down the field and scored on the opening drive, which really had me concerned for how the rest of the playthrough was going to go. Undeterred, I opened up with a quarterback keeper for an easy 8 yards. Promising start. Followed that up with a pitch to the outside on second down for 14 more yards, and honestly, that pretty well sealed the deal in my mind. If I can maintain this momentum, then this challenge is in the bag. Made my way down the field one run at a time until I finally crossed the end zone for the first touchdown of the season. This is when I made another realization. Because I'm playing college rules, I have the 2-point conversion available to me. And by the letter of the challenge, that means I'll be going for 2 all season long. If I can make it with any consistency, that's going to give me a real advantage in close games. Now, I'm not going to recap every play of every drive. This video would be like 7 hours long. So from here on out, I'm just going to give a brief rundown of how each game went. Moldy Moss was able to score a couple more times, but ultimately they couldn't keep up with my offensive pressure, giving me the win. Something interesting happened though, as I went into this season ranked number 12 in the nation, but after winning, I dropped to number 14. Despite the fact that Nebraska, Colorado, and South Carolina lost, they still jumped me in ranking. At this point, I knew if I was going to have any hope for a bowl game selection, probably going to have to win out. Keeping the streak alive in week 2 didn't seem too difficult as we went to Princeton. As expected, the Ivy League Brain Lords couldn't even slow me down as we blew past them 40-14 and reclaimed our spot back at rank 12. Next up was Texas at Austin, which is this game's stand-in for the Texas Longhorns. After 2 cream puff teams, it was time to see how we handled against a big boy school, and it was bad. You see, there's a mechanic in this game that I wasn't aware of at the time. Let me explain. When you're in control of the runner, you can hit the dash button to get a little burst of speed and outrun the opposing team. That's all well and good, and I was using it pretty frequently for extra yards each carry. However, there is a hidden fatigue statistic. And the more you use the turbo button, the more gassed your players get. In addition to that, there are no substitutions, so I couldn't put in a second string to let him recover. By the end of this game, the running back was so exhausted, he actually couldn't move. The ball would snap and you would just have concrete shoes. All of this combined together into an embarrassing defeat, 38-0. Didn't score a single point. And with the ranking system as brutal as it is, I was seriously concerned that my hopes of a bowl game had just gotten flushed. With the new knowledge of this mechanic in check and the sting of falling from rank 12 to a soul-crushing 48th, we marched on a different Texas team, this time at Waco, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Baylor. At any rate, we had something to prove this game. No turbo, lights out defense. Got our confidence back, and we absolutely rolled them, 52-13. Somehow, this was enough to swing us all the way back up to 23rd. I could breathe a little easier heading into the next game against Windy Belt. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what this is supposed to be a stand-in for. Like, I know the Sun Belt, but that's an entire conference, not a school. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments. But regardless of who they were supposed to be, what they are is demolished. This is the highest score of the season, 64-28. Someone in the BCS must have enjoyed that blowout because it brought us all the way back up to rank 13. Just one down from where we started with quite a few games still left in the regular season. Up next, we took on Standard. Cold, rainy road game. But the rain was not a factor at all, however, as we pounded the rock for another convincing 40-7 win. Never touching the turbo to save fatigue was proving to be the strategy. And with that win, climbed our way back up to the preseason number 12. Only up from here. Let's get it. Game calls this next team Sly Rock, Pennsylvania. I can only assume it's supposed to be Slippery Rock, and if that's the case, then this should be another easy one. Spoiler alert, it was. 36-7 final score, and more importantly, new best ranking so far, number 8. We finally crossed into the top 10. 6-1 was feeling pretty good, but the last few remaining games is where it mattered most. Headed into Youngstown, Ohio for the next showdown. With no stats or awards to speak of, I started making a conscious decision in this game that from here moving forward, I would be better about clock management to shorten down how long the games took. As turns out, a whole season of just using one play gets a little tiring. Who'd have guessed? This strategy did pay off though, and we walked away with another win, 32-10. Only moved up one spot this time, but hey, I'll take 7. I also noticed that ND, Notre Dame, not North Dakota, and Miami were both sitting pretty with undefeated records. I already knew that the national title was out of the question, but hey, winning a bowl game is still a victory for me. Williamsburg, Virginia was the next opponent, and the green-yellow color scheme tells me that this is William and Mary. Despite the fact that on paper this game should be a slaughter, I noticed that late season AI did start to crank up a bit. This one was actually the first nail-biter that we had all season. I barely squeaked by 24-16. No movement in the rankings this time, still lucky number 7. We're off to California to face off against San Jose State, even if the uniforms kind of look more like the Cal Golden Bears to me. Combination of intentionally burning more clock and the AI scaling is making these games much closer, but we still keep the win streak alive, 32-21. 9-1 was enough to get us a little bit of movement, and we moved up to number 6. Time for Appalachian State. You know the drill by now. Mountaineers fall 28-7. Week 11 still holding down the number 6 spot, and it happens. try to head to the next game and I get greeted by the big, bold text. You've been invited to the Siesta Bowl. Okay, I gotta admit that one actually got me pretty good. The actual bowl game is called the Fiesta Bowl, so this was a pretty good swap. And it was cool too because Tennessee actually played in the Fiesta Bowl for the national championship in 1998 against Florida State. So, yeah, getting this invite was pretty fitting. Now just gotta clutch it out. Who would our opponent be? Syracuse. Battle of the Orange for the glory of the Siesta Bowl. Who will prevail in the last game of the season? A team with a full playbook at their disposal or some option-y boys? I mean, you already know. This video wouldn't have been made elsewise. Everything we've learned about the game and its systems have led to this exact moment and a fairly easy 28-13 victory to cap off the season. So yeah, you can beat super play action football only using one play. I understand some of you might want an asterisk or something added to that because I didn't win the national title, but honestly, that really kind of boils down to two things. One, I didn't know about the fatigue issue going up against Texas, and that shot any hopes of a national title down the drain right there. And honestly, it kind of boils down to luck too, because with the rankings as they are, you could feasibly have an undefeated record and still not get an invite to the championship game. So I'm more than satisfied with a top 5 finish and a bowl game victory. Truth be told, I didn't even have this challenge in mind when I started the game. If you're new to this channel, I'm actually doing a much larger challenge to beat all North American Super Nintendo games. And to make this one interesting, I kind of devised the challenge at runtime. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and a comment. If you want to see me work through the rest of the Super Nintendo library, I've got recap videos on this channel you can binge through, or you can catch the progress live on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/SilentHeroLive. If you've made it this far, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.